What is up, Mizzou fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, covering your Missouri Tigers. And we got some breaking news from earlier this morning, and what I would consider Mizzou's first major loss of the 2024 portal season, as true freshman running back Kewan Lacy is planning to enter the NCAA Transfer Portal. Lacy was in line to be Mizzou's starting running back next year, most likely. He showed a lot of flashes as a freshman, burned that red shirt. He even appeared in the South Carolina game. This is someone that got some important run, and Mizzou was kind of grooming him to take over as the starting running back next season. And so that's a major loss. A lot of people thought that Lacy would be Mizzou's starting running back, and he had the potential to be one of the best running backs in the SEC just from what he showed as a freshman. If you go back and look at his high school highlight film, he runs like Alvin Kamara. He's super elusive. He breaks tackles. So this is what I would consider to be Mizzou's first major portal loss of the offseason. Of course, losing Williams Nwaneri hurt, losing Jalen Brown hurt. You don't want to lose those guys. Those are young guys that are depth, but we think could make an impact in the future. But they weren't starters. Kewan Lacy was most likely going to be your starting running back, which means Mizzou has to go out and find a replacement for him. Now, we did get news that Army running back transfer Kewan Lacy is visiting Mizzou Wednesday, and so that means that Mizzou probably likely knew that this news was coming, and that's why we saw Udo get brought in on a visit, or the news that he's coming in on a visit. I know some fans last night on social media were a little bit confused, saying, hey, we have Lacy and Roberts and freshman Marquise Davis coming in. Like, what is the deal here? Why do we need another running back? And at first I thought, this is just someone that you're adding for more depth, because Lacy is still largely unproven. As much talent as we think he has, he's still unproven. And Jamal Roberts, and I've gotten into a little bit of a debate with some Mizzou fans on my Twitter account on Show Me Football, but I said Roberts really hasn't done anything to make me feel like he could be running back one or even running back two. It seems like a lot of you guys like him, but the way I see it, he's been at Mizzou for 2 seasons now. He has 2 games with over 50 yards rushing, and one of them came in garbage time of a blowout loss at the hands of Alabama. I could be wrong, but to me, Jamal Roberts is a guy that is a situational running back. He comes in on passing downs to pass block, and you can put him in there in certain packages. He would certainly mix in with the running back room, but not a guy that was going to get a ton of carries ever, I don't think. That's kind of how I view it. So I thought when they were bringing in Kewan Lacy, they were just trying to add talent somewhere. A running back jumped into the portal that they liked, and they thought, they couldn't pass up on the opportunity to add him. Looking back now, I think maybe the staff saw this coming with Lacy, and it's a little bit strange because I know Gabe DeArmond of Power Mizzou on 24/7 Sports reported that Kewan Lacy, there was no concern that he was leaving as of a week ago, and now he's gone. And unfortunately, again, this is just what college football is. One day these guys say, hey, no, I'm staying, and then the next day somebody gets into contact with them promising them a lot of things if they're to jump into the portal. And so I'm kind of thinking that's what happened here. This was not a guy that you wanted to lose. This is in no way a player that Mizzou was okay walking away. But that's just college football now, and you have to be able to absorb these losses and move on and replace Kewan Lacy. Now, if they are to get Kewan Lacy, who's supposed to visit on Wednesday, that would be a really good start, because he ran for over 1,000 yards last year and 10 touchdowns for the Army Black Knights, who had a really good season, actually. So I'd be a big fan of that addition. But bringing it back into the Kewan Lacy conversation, you've now lost 3 of your top players that signed in the 2024 recruiting class in Nwaneri, Brown, and Lacy, all guys that were probably going to contribute at one point or another. And I just kind of wonder now if the approach to high school recruiting changes even more. Drink already talked about signing smaller classes to save spots for the portal, but man, the 2024 class is already getting ripped to shreds, and it just kind of makes me think maybe the approach changes even more and high school classes are kept extremely small, and instead the foundation is portal recruiting. I was always someone that was a big advocate for high school recruiting. Yes, you have the portal, but you still want to have a foundation of young, talented players. But I mean, it just is really hard to see in this new landscape a majority of those guys sticking around. In Lacy's case in particular, if you guys remember, he was committed to Nebraska at one point out of high school, decommitted from them, and then committed to Mizzou at the last second on signing day after also considering Ole Miss and Alabama. There were a bunch of crystal ball picks for him to go to Ole Miss. All of a sudden, Mizzou won that recruiting battle. But I feel like a lot of these kids that decide to come to Mizzou last minute or Mizzou gets them after a big recruiting battle against a bunch of blue bloods, I feel like with those ones, the big high-profile guys, the high-profile recruitments, a lot of those guys are starting to leave in the portal after one season because these teams that missed out on them say, hey, you know what, the relationship is still there. We'll see what that position looks like after the season, then maybe we'll just lure that guy into the portal next year. And Mizzou is definitely doing this too. I have no doubt about it that Mizzou is doing this with guys that they maybe missed on in the past. So this is just, again, recruiting. This is the current landscape of college football. Kewan Lacy is leaving. I wouldn't expect him back. It's not impossible that he could return to Mizzou, but once you're in the portal, I feel like it's much less likely that you return. So, yeah, it's a tough one, guys. I mean, there's no sugarcoating this one. Personally, I thought Lacy was going to be a star at Mizzou. And it's like, why would you transfer? Unless the money was drastically different somewhere else. Why would you transfer when you're in line to be the starting running back on a team that just went 9-3 and is looking to add a lot in the portal and contend next year? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm sure once he goes somewhere, we'll find out what the reason was why he left, and it'll be easy to piece together. I just mentioned Nebraska. That was the team he was committed to out of high school. We already know that Nebraska worked hard to get Winery from Missouri, so maybe they're doing the same thing with Lacy. And in that case, I would hope Drink has a plan to get Matt Rule back at some point because he's kind of stealing some of the best young players off our team right now, and that's not something that you want to happen consistently. So the loss of Lacy sucks, but the good thing is that running back is a position that you can easily replace. You can go out and find a guy in the portal that ran for close to or over 1,000 yards, and it looks like they have a really good chance of doing that already with Kane Udo. And then we'll see what other visitors pop up if Mizzou decides to add anyone else there. But that's the gist of it, guys. Lacy into the portal, big loss for Mizzou, not one that you wanted to see, but life will go on, and I'm sure Drinkwitz has a plan in place to replace whatever they thought he was going to bring this year. So that's all I got for this video. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments below what your thoughts are on this news. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this. And then make sure, lastly, you check out my work on showmefootball.com. That's all I got. Signing off. And as always, MIZ.